What if I told you that hair loss after 70 isn't just a natural part of aging, and that one overlooked vitamin could be quietly shutting down your hair follicles right now? Most people spend years chasing shampoos, oils, and supplements, thinking the answer is on the surface. But in reality, hair growth is controlled by a complex system inside the body, and missing just one critical signal can stall it completely. Today, I'm going to reveal the vitamin that plays a central role in stopping hair loss and promoting thicker, healthier hair naturally. Before we dive in, drop your age in the comments so I know exactly who I'm guiding. Stick around until the end because the last point is a total game changer. And for straightforward health truths with no myths, don't forget to subscribe and join our supportive community. Hair thinning after 70 is often dismissed as an inevitable part of aging. But that explanation is far too simplistic. Hair doesn't fall out randomly. Every strand is governed by a highly organized system involving nutrients, hormones, circulation, and cellular energy. When any part of this system falters, the hair follicle reacts immediately. The question isn't why hair falls out, it's what changes in the body trigger the follicle to slow or stop. One major shift with age is a decline in nutrient absorption. Even with a balanced diet, the digestive system becomes less efficient over time. Stomach acid decreases, enzymes drop, and the intestines lose some ability to absorb fat-soluble nutrients. Hair follicles are among the fastest-growing tissues in the body, making them extremely sensitive to even mild deficiencies. When nutrients become scarce, the body prioritizes survival over appearance, and hair growth is one of the first functions to be reduced. This explains why hair thinning can develop gradually, almost silently, without warning. Hormonal signaling is another critical factor. Hair follicles operate in cycles of growth, rest, and shedding, tightly regulated by hormones. As we age, these hormonal signals weaken or become irregular. This doesn't mean hormones vanish, they just communicate less effectively with cells. When growth signals weaken, follicles spend more time in the resting phase and less time actively producing hair. The result is finer strands, slower regrowth, and noticeable thinning, particularly at the crown and hairline. Circulation also plays a vital role. Healthy follicles require a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients delivered through the blood. With age, blood vessels lose flexibility, and scalp circulation can decline. Less blood flow means fewer nutrients reaching the hair root, reducing its ability to produce thick, strong hair. Hair can look dull, brittle, and fragile, not just shorter or thinner. The follicle is still alive, but it's operating under poor conditions. Inflammation is another silent culprit. As we get older, low-grade chronic inflammation becomes more common, even in people who feel generally healthy. When inflammation develops around hair follicles, it disrupts nutrient delivery and cellular repair. Over time, follicles weaken, producing thinner hair until they stop altogether. Many people never realize that inflammation, not age itself, is quietly damaging their scalp. Cellular energy is equally important. Hair growth demands high energy at the cellular level. Tiny power plants inside cells, called mitochondria, become less efficient with age. When energy drops, fast-growing tissues like hair suffer first. The follicle slows down, growth phases shorten, and density decreases not because the follicle is dead, but because it lacks the energy to function fully. Another overlooked change after 70 is reduced exposure to sunlight and outdoor activity. Sunlight triggers critical biological processes that influence hair growth. Many older adults spend more time indoors, subtly altering internal chemistry over months and years. Hair loss isn't sudden, it's the gradual weakening of signals that keep follicles active. Looking at the bigger picture, hair thinning after 70 isn't mysterious or inevitable. It's the result of multiple small changes happening at once. Reduced absorption, weaker hormonal signals, poorer circulation, increased inflammation, and lower cellular energy. Follicles respond exactly as biology designed them to. The real opportunity lies in identifying which signals are missing and restoring them before the follicles shut down completely. One vitamin stands out as a critical signal for hair growth, vitamin D, and this is where most discussions about hair loss completely miss the mark. Commonly thought of as a bone nutrient, vitamin D functions more like a hormone, sending instructions to cells throughout the body. Hair follicles aren't passive, they're living mini-organs that depend on precise chemical signals to decide whether to grow, rest, or shut down. One of the most critical signals comes directly from vitamin D. Every healthy follicle contains vitamin D receptors, acting like antennas that wait for the signal to trigger the growth phase. Without it, follicles remain dormant, leading to thinning, slower regrowth, and reduced density even when the follicle is still alive. Vitamin D's role in hair growth goes far beyond signaling follicles to wake up. It also regulates inflammation. The scalp is an extension of the skin, and like all skin tissue, it can become inflamed when conditions aren't optimal. Vitamin D helps modulate immune response, keeping inflammation under control. When vitamin D is low, inflammation around follicles increases, disrupting the delicate environment needed for growth. The result isn't sudden hair loss, but gradual thinning and fragility. This also affects keratin, the protein that gives hair its structure. Adequate vitamin D supports keratin-producing cells, creating thick, strong strands. Deficiency, however, slows keratin production, leaving hair brittle, flat, and prone to breakage. Many people try topical solutions, unaware the issue starts deep within the follicle. Vitamin D also plays a role in circulation. Hair follicles rely on blood flow for oxygen, amino acids, minerals, and energy. Vitamin D supports blood vessel health, improving nutrient delivery to the scalp. With better circulation, follicles receive the fuel they need to grow thick, strong hair. Cellular energy is another key area. Hair growth is energy-intensive, and follicles require fully functional mitochondria. Vitamin D enhances mitochondrial performance, enabling follicles to maintain growth rather than slipping into dormancy. The changes may be subtle at first, but over time, regrowth becomes thicker, healthier, and more resilient. Timing is crucial. Vitamin D works gradually, restoring proper signaling rather than forcing instant changes. Hair follicles respond to consistency, not extremes. When levels are stabilized, follicles improve cycle by cycle. The result mirrors the slow process of hair loss: gradual, quiet, and steady. Importantly, vitamin D aligns with the body's natural design. It doesn't override genetics or artificially stimulate follicles. Instead, it restores the environment that allows hair to grow as biology intended. When internal signals are corrected, growth becomes a natural response, not a cosmetic struggle. However, vitamin D doesn't work alone. Even when intake improves, results can remain limited if supporting nutrients are missing. The body operates as a coordinated system, and follicles respond to the combined quality of signals. One missing piece can slow the process, sometimes preventing visible improvement despite doing everything right. Magnesium is essential here. Vitamin D is biologically inactive until converted into usable forms through enzymatic reactions. Magnesium is required at multiple steps in this activation. Without enough magnesium, vitamin D remains present but ineffective, leaving follicles unresponsive. Hair growth stalls not from absence of vitamin D, but from its inability to be used efficiently. Zinc is another critical nutrient. Hair follicles are among the fastest dividing cells in the body, and zinc supports DNA synthesis and cell division. Low zinc impairs follicle replication, resulting in thinner strands and slower growth. Zinc also supports scalp oil production, maintaining a healthy follicle environment. Without it, even with vitamin D, follicles struggle to produce strong hair. Protein, too, is often underestimated, especially in older adults. Hair is mostly protein, and insufficient intake means follicles lack the raw materials for healthy strands. Aging often reduces appetite and protein consumption, forcing the body to prioritize vital organs over hair. This leads to slow-growing, thin, fragile hair. Iron plays a supporting role by aiding oxygen delivery. Follicles have high metabolic demands and require oxygen to sustain growth. Iron supports red blood cells that transport oxygen to the scalp. Even marginal deficiency can limit follicle function and cause early thinning. Healthy fats are equally important. Vitamin D is fat-soluble, so it requires dietary fat for absorption. Low-fat diets, common among older adults, can hinder uptake. Even supplements may fail if there isn't enough fat for transport. Follicles, being sensitive, are affected first. Supporting nutrients also help control inflammation. Magnesium, zinc, and protein all regulate immune activity, creating an environment where vitamin D can function effectively. The synergy of these nutrients is powerful. Vitamin D delivers the growth signal, magnesium activates it, zinc supports structure, protein builds the shaft, iron delivers oxygen, healthy fats enable absorption. When aligned, follicles get a clear, consistent message to grow, strengthen, and maintain thickness. Isolated efforts often fail because hair regrowth isn't about one missing piece, it's about restoring balance to a system strained over decades. When the right nutrients work together, follicles respond naturally, without being forced. Hair loss later in life is often treated as inevitable, but the body rarely changes without reason. Follicles respond to signals, resources, and conditions. When signals weaken, hair thins, slows, and loses density. The encouraging part is these processes aren't random or beyond influence. Permanent-looking changes are often long-standing deficiencies quietly building over time. When the body receives usable nutrients, priorities shift, systems on hold start to reawaken. Hair follicles, highly sensitive to internal chemistry, are among the first to reflect improvements. Texture changes, reduced shedding, and returning strength signal that deeper biological functions are being restored. This approach reframes hair health as a reflection of overall metabolic and nutritional status rather than a cosmetic issue. Instead of battling hair loss from the outside, focus moves inward, where real control exists. Supporting the body's natural design allows hair growth to become a response, not a struggle. With consistent restoration of proper signals, the body can do far more than expected, even past the age most people assume improvement is impossible. By now, it's clear that hair thinning after 70 isn't random, it's a reflection of multiple internal imbalances, many of which quietly accumulate over decades. One of the most deceptive issues is vitamin D deficiency, which develops slowly and often without obvious symptoms. Many people reach their 70s already running on low reserves due to years of limited sun exposure, indoor lifestyles, sunscreen use, or marginal dietary intake. By the time thinning becomes visible, the follicles have been underperforming silently for years, and it can feel as if the change is permanent even though most follicles remain alive, just dormant. Vitamin D deficiency doesn't shout its presence. Instead, it quietly signals the body to scale back non-essential functions. Hair growth is considered optional from a biological standpoint, so follicles are among the first tissues to reflect deficiencies. When you connect this to age-related shifts, reduced sunlight, less outdoor activity, digestive changes, and medication interactions, the picture becomes clear. Hair follicles are not failing randomly. They're responding exactly to the environment they've been given. Understanding this changes everything because it shifts the focus from chasing external solutions to addressing the core internal signals that govern growth. Sunlight is a critical piece of the puzzle. As skin ages, its ability to produce vitamin D declines dramatically. Even if an older adult spends the same amount of time in the sun as a younger person, the vitamin D yield is far lower. Daily routines also shift with age. Reduced mobility, retirement, or simple lifestyle adjustments mean less outdoor time. Sunlight becomes shorter, less direct, or filtered through windows, which blocks the wavelengths needed for vitamin D synthesis. Over months and years, levels gradually drop. This slow decline often goes unnoticed while hair gradually thins, loses density, and becomes fragile. Digestion is another hidden barrier. Vitamin D is fat-soluble, meaning it depends on healthy digestion and bile production. Aging often brings decreased stomach acid, reduced bile efficiency from the liver and gallbladder, and slower digestive function overall. The result is that even if dietary intake appears sufficient, very little vitamin D actually reaches circulation. Hair follicles, extremely sensitive to nutrient availability, respond immediately, even before deficiency symptoms are obvious in blood tests or general health. Medications common after 70 further complicate the issue. Drugs for blood pressure, cholesterol, bone health, or inflammation can interfere with vitamin D metabolism or absorption. Some medications even increase the body's demand for vitamin D without supplying extra, creating a silent drain. Kidney function also naturally declines with age. Vitamin D must be converted into its active form by the liver and kidneys before follicles can use it. Reduced kidney efficiency means conversion is slower, weakening the signal even if measured vitamin D levels appear normal. Follicles receive a partial message or none at all and gradually slow production. Dietary patterns also shift over time. Appetite decreases, food variety narrows, and low-fat diets common in older adults trying to manage weight or cholesterol impair vitamin D absorption. The follicles can't wait for perfect conditions. They respond to chemistry. Slow, cumulative deficiency trains follicles to remain dormant. When hair thinning finally becomes noticeable, it often seems irreversible, even though the problem is largely environmental and nutritional. Vitamin D deficiency is almost expected after 70 because multiple factors converge. Decreased production in skin, less sun exposure, impaired absorption, medication interactions, reduced kidney activation, and long-standing depletion. Hair follicles are not passive casualties, they are responding precisely to the conditions presented to them. Addressing deficiency isn't about surface solutions, it's about restoring a critical signal the body has been missing for years. Once vitamin D levels are corrected, the effects ripple through multiple interconnected systems. Dormant follicles can reactivate, hair growth cycles stabilize, and keratin production improves. Scalp inflammation decreases, circulation enhances, and cellular energy within follicles increases. The result is gradual, natural regrowth, thicker strands, stronger shafts, and improved hair density. The transformation may be subtle at first, but it signals that the underlying biology is finally being restored. Supporting vitamin D with synergistic nutrients is equally important. Magnesium is required for activation, zinc supports DNA replication and follicle integrity, protein provides the building blocks for hair, iron ensures oxygen delivery, and healthy fats facilitate absorption. Together, these nutrients create the perfect internal environment for hair follicles to function at full capacity. Without this coordination, even optimal vitamin D intake may fall short. Hair regrowth is rarely about a single nutrient, it's about restoring balance across an entire system. Hair loss later in life is often treated as inevitable, but the reality is encouraging. Hair follicles don't stop working on their own, they respond to missing signals. When those signals are restored, follicles awaken and begin producing stronger, thicker hair again. Texture improves, shedding slows, and hair gradually regains vitality. By focusing on restoring the body's internal design rather than chasing surface fixes, hair growth becomes a natural response, not a struggle. At this point, it's becoming clear. Hair loss after 70 isn't an unavoidable consequence of aging. It's a signal, a reflection of the body quietly adjusting to long-standing imbalances. Hair follicles are highly sensitive and responsive to their environment. When nutrients, hormones, circulation, and cellular energy falter, follicles slow down, enter dormancy, or produce thinner strands. The good news is that most follicles are still alive. They're waiting for the right signals to return to active growth. Vitamin D is the key signal, but it doesn't act alone. Its effectiveness depends on proper activation, support from other nutrients, and a body environment conducive to growth. Magnesium is the first critical partner. Without enough magnesium, vitamin D cannot convert into its usable form and cannot properly bind to receptors in hair follicles. This creates a frustrating situation where blood levels of vitamin D may appear adequate, yet follicles behave as if they are still starved of the signal. Zinc is equally essential. Hair follicles are among the fastest dividing cells in the body, and zinc supports DNA synthesis and cell replication. When zinc is low, follicles lose the ability to divide efficiently, resulting in thin, fragile strands and slow regrowth. Zinc also supports oil-producing glands around follicles, maintaining a healthy scalp environment. Without it, the follicle's home is compromised, making it harder for vitamin D to work effectively. Protein often gets overlooked, yet it forms the structural foundation of hair. Each strand is composed mostly of protein, and without adequate intake, the body simply cannot produce strong, healthy hair shafts. Older adults often consume less protein due to reduced appetite or dietary habits. When the body prioritizes vital organs and muscles over hair, the follicles get what's left: insufficient resources to produce thick, resilient strands. Iron also plays a supporting role. Follicles demand high oxygen delivery to sustain rapid growth, and iron ensures that red blood cells can transport oxygen efficiently. Even mild iron deficiencies can restrict this process, subtly slowing follicle performance long before anemia becomes apparent. Healthy fats complete the picture. Vitamin D is fat-soluble, meaning it requires dietary fat for proper absorption. Very low-fat diets, common among older adults managing weight or cholesterol, can significantly impair vitamin D uptake. Even the most carefully measured supplement can fail if there isn't enough fat to carry vitamin D into circulation. Hair follicles, being sensitive and high-demand tissues, feel the impact first. Supporting nutrients also help manage inflammation. Magnesium, zinc, protein, and healthy fats collectively contribute to a calm scalp environment, reducing low-grade chronic inflammation that often accompanies aging. This ensures follicles can function optimally. What makes this combination so powerful is synergy. Each nutrient amplifies the others. Vitamin D provides the growth signal, magnesium activates it, zinc reinforces follicle structure, protein supplies the building blocks, iron delivers oxygen, and fats ensure absorption. When these elements are in balance, hair follicles receive a clear, consistent message to grow, strengthen, and maintain thickness. This is why isolated approaches focusing on a single vitamin, oil, or topical product often fail. Hair regrowth isn't about one missing piece. It's about restoring balance across a system that has been under strain for decades. Hair loss is often treated as an aesthetic issue, but in reality, it's a visible reflection of internal biology. Follicles don't fail arbitrarily. They respond to the availability of resources, energy, and chemical signals. When these weaken, hair thins, slows growth, and density fades. Understanding this fundamentally changes the approach. Instead of reacting to symptoms, the focus becomes restoring the signals that regulate follicle activity. The result is not just stronger hair, but healthier biological function overall. Encouragingly, these processes aren't irreversible. Dormant follicles can reactivate when the internal environment improves. Gradual restoration of vitamin D, along with magnesium, zinc, protein, iron, and healthy fats, gradually awakens follicles that may have been inactive for years. Changes occur cycle by cycle. Shedding slows, hair texture improves, and new growth gradually appears. This approach mirrors how hair was lost slowly, quietly, and steadily, reversing the process in a natural, biological way. By focusing on foundational nutrients rather than temporary fixes, hair growth becomes a response to restored internal chemistry, not a cosmetic struggle. The follicles respond because the conditions they require are finally in place. Hair follicles are designed to be resilient, capable of maintaining thick, healthy strands if supported properly. It's not magic, it's biology finally working as it should. By now, it's evident that hair loss after 70 is far more about biology than age itself. Follicles don't fail without reason. They respond to the signals, nutrients, and environment they receive. The encouraging reality is that most follicles remain alive, even if dormant, and can be reactivated when the right conditions are restored. Vitamin D serves as the central growth signal, but it works best in harmony with magnesium, zinc, protein, iron, and healthy fats. Alone, vitamin D may show minimal results. Together with its partners, it creates a powerful system that wakes follicles and allows hair to grow naturally, thicker, and stronger. The process is gradual, mirroring the slow decline that caused thinning in the first place. When vitamin D levels stabilize and the supporting nutrients are present, follicles respond cycle by cycle. First, shedding slows. Then, the texture begins to improve. Hair feels fuller, stronger, and more resilient. Over time, density increases and strands regain volume. These changes may seem subtle at first, but they are signs of deep biological restoration. Unlike topical products or shampoos, this approach doesn't mask the problem. It addresses the underlying signals that control follicle behavior, giving hair the conditions it needs to thrive. Another critical aspect is energy production within the follicle. Hair growth is highly energy intensive. Mitochondria, the cellular power plants, must function efficiently for follicles to maintain growth. Vitamin D, combined with proper nutrient support, helps optimize mitochondrial function. When energy production improves, follicles can sustain longer growth phases, producing thicker, stronger hair over time. This is why older adults often notice gradual improvements in both hair quality and speed of regrowth once internal signals are restored. It's important to remember that hair follicles respond to consistent internal signals, not short-term interventions. Rapid or extreme measures often fail because the body prioritizes balance over immediate cosmetic results. Hair growth is a reflection of systemic health, and follicles will respond reliably only when the body has sustained the right environment. That's why combining vitamin D with magnesium, zinc, protein, iron, and healthy fats creates a predictable and sustainable outcome. Each nutrient amplifies the effect of the others, creating a synergistic environment where follicles thrive naturally rather than being artificially stimulated. Chronic inflammation is another hidden obstacle. Even low-grade, long-standing inflammation can subtly disrupt nutrient delivery and weaken follicles. Vitamin D plays a key role in modulating inflammation, but it needs the support of other nutrients to maintain a calm, healthy scalp environment. Protein and zinc strengthen follicle structure and keratin production, while iron and magnesium enhance oxygen delivery and energy metabolism. Together, these factors quiet inflammation, improve circulation, and ensure follicles receive what they need to produce strong, healthy hair consistently. This holistic approach explains why many older adults see limited success with isolated interventions. Shampoos, oils, or single supplements may provide temporary cosmetic benefits, but they rarely address the root causes, missing signals, nutrient deficiencies, and poor follicle activation. Hair growth is not just about adding ingredients, it's about restoring balance across multiple systems, including absorption, circulation, hormone signaling, inflammation control, and cellular energy. When all of these factors are optimized, follicles naturally respond, often reversing years of gradual thinning. The transformation is not instantaneous, it mirrors the slow, cumulative process that caused hair loss in the first place. This approach honors the body's biology rather than fighting against it. Hair regrowth occurs naturally, gradually increasing in thickness, density, and strength. Dormant follicles awaken, shedding slows, and new strands emerge healthier than before. Over time, this leads to noticeable improvements in overall hair health, making it stronger, shinier, and more resilient to breakage. By focusing on restoring internal chemistry rather than chasing external fixes, older adults can regain a surprising degree of control over hair health. Hair follicles are highly sensitive indicators of overall metabolic and nutritional status. Supporting them with consistent foundational nutrients enables the body to prioritize hair growth again. Texture, strength, and density improve, often signaling broader health benefits as the body's internal systems regain balance. In essence, hair loss after 70 is not inevitable. It is largely the result of long-standing deficiencies and weakened signals, all of which can be addressed with a strategic nutrient-based approach. Follicles are not dead, they're waiting for the right message to return to active growth. Restoring vitamin D and its partners creates that message, allowing dormant follicles to re-enter the growth phase, rebuild structure, and produce thick, resilient hair once more. Now that we understand how hair follicles respond to the body's internal signals, the key takeaway is this. Hair thinning after 70 is rarely permanent. Most follicles are not gone, they're dormant, waiting for the right conditions to reactivate. By restoring vitamin D levels and supporting it with magnesium, zinc, protein, iron, and healthy fats, the follicles receive clear, consistent messages to re-enter the growth phase. Hair regrowth isn't forced or artificial, it's a natural response to the body finally having what it needs to function properly. Vitamin D acts as the central coordinator, signaling follicles to wake up, maintain proper growth cycles, and support keratin production. Magnesium ensures vitamin D is activated and usable, while zinc reinforces follicle structure and cell replication. Protein supplies the raw materials for strong, resilient strands, and iron delivers oxygen to power rapid growth. Healthy fats facilitate absorption and contribute to systemic balance. Together, these nutrients create a holistic environment where follicles can thrive, producing hair that's thicker, stronger, and healthier than it's been in years. This approach also addresses the subtle but critical factors that often go unnoticed. Reduced sunlight exposure, slower digestion, medication interactions, and diminished kidney function all compound vitamin D deficiency. By understanding how these factors converge, older adults can take proactive steps to restore the internal conditions necessary for follicle activation. Hair loss becomes not a cosmetic struggle, but a visible indicator of internal health and one that can be improved with consistent, informed care. The improvements appear gradually, reflecting the slow accumulation of deficiencies that cause the problem. First comes a reduction in shedding, followed by thicker texture, improved strength, and eventual increases in density. This isn't a quick fix, and it doesn't rely on gimmicks or surface-level treatments. Instead, it works with the body's natural design, aligning the internal environment with the signals follicles require to produce healthy hair. Over time, the changes are noticeable, consistent, and sustainable. Inflammation control is another major benefit. Hair follicles function best in a calm, balanced environment. Vitamin D, together with magnesium, zinc, and protein, helps regulate inflammation, ensuring follicles aren't suffocated by low-grade immune activity. Circulation improves, energy production increases, and hair shafts emerge thicker and more resilient. This is why older adults often notice improvements not just in density, but in overall hair quality and vitality. Hair regrowth after 70 isn't about trying the newest shampoo, serum, or cosmetic product. It's about restoring balance inside the body, providing the nutrients and signals that follicles have been missing for decades. The results reflect a system working as it was designed to. Healthy follicles producing strong, thick, resilient hair. This perspective changes everything because it shifts the focus from temporary, external solutions to sustainable, internal restoration. For anyone struggling with thinning hair after 70, the message is clear. It's not too late. Dormant follicles can be reactivated, growth cycles can normalize, and hair can regain strength, texture, and density. The difference comes from targeting the root cause, vitamin D deficiency, and its supporting nutrient network, rather than chasing surface-level quick fixes that rarely address the real problem. If you take one thing away from this, remember that hair loss is a signal, not a sentence. Supporting your follicles through proper vitamin D levels, magnesium, zinc, protein, iron, and healthy fats allows them to respond naturally and effectively. When internal conditions are restored, hair growth becomes a reflection of overall biological balance rather than a cosmetic challenge. Now it's your turn to take action. Start by evaluating your vitamin D status and considering ways to support absorption through diet, nutrient pairing, and safe sunlight exposure. Pair this with magnesium, zinc, protein, iron, and healthy fats for maximum effect. Watch your hair respond cycle by cycle, gradually regaining strength, thickness, and vitality. Don't wait for thinning to feel permanent. Take control of your hair health today. If this guide helped you understand why hair loss isn't inevitable, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more evidence-based health strategies, and share your age and progress in the comments below. Join our community of people over 70 taking charge of their health, revitalizing hair, and reclaiming confidence, because it's never too late to restore what was once thought lost.